Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are very excited to be sharing with you some resources to help the businesses in your network, especially through this time. We are just going to give it a few more minutes for everybody to join us. But, in the meantime, I hope you are getting ready with your questions. And thank you all the panelists for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know many of you are probably very familiar with Zoom, but just wanted to share that you can type in your questions in the question chat box. You can also raise your hand. You can just either submit a question to the panelist, or you can also choose to share your question with everyone. Thank you. We're also very excited for this collaboration. Great. Again, thank you for joining us today and taking the time out of your busy schedule. We are very excited to have you. It was really great to be at the national conference in New Mexico last year, but this Zoom is very close to that collaboration. So Ramiro, we're so happy to have you. My name is Sonia Moyne. I am the Senior Director at ICIC. It is a national research and advisory nonprofit supporting to strengthen small businesses in the underserved areas. ICIC is actually the national outreach and selection partner on the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And so, I know I keep on saying this, but we are very excited to be joined by all the partners working together to provide support and resources to strengthen our small businesses through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and especially at a time like this. The U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has been an ardent supporter of the program over the years, and you will hear from one of our shared business alumna today. But before that, I want to say that I am honored to welcome a person that many of you knew very well, your President and CEO, Ramiro Cavazos, who is joined by Catherine Joan Kolscher, who is the Managing Director of the 10,000 Small Business Program at Goldman Sachs Foundation. Thank you, Ramiro and Catherine, for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, Sonia, for being in New Mexico with us last year. And it's important to note that having you there was such an opportunity for us to connect with some great business leaders in a great state where we were founded 40 years ago. And I'm so glad that Arian Gonzales with Cervantes Foods is with us today, because she represents that great part of the country, and our great board member and leader, Ernie Sidabaca, who runs the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you, Sonia, for your partnership, and of course, Catherine, for your tremendous friendship from all the way Philadelphia when I first met you before I started with the chamber. And the last year and a half has been a blessing working with you and Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small businesses and ICIC. And thank you also, Richard Bliss, and of course, the whole panel that helped put this together, Brianna Dimas and Richard on our team. And last but not least, we represent 4.5 million businesses, 60 million Latinos with a huge economic output that continues to grow. Even in the midst of this crisis, we see opportunity. And I was just on the phone with our SBA administrator, Jovita Carranza, before this call, and she tells all of our chambers and our Hispanic business enterprises, and of course, Goldman Sachs, thank you very much for your tenacity and your spirit. And she gives everyone warm wishes and is very, very much a champion of Goldman Sachs and the 10,000 Small Businesses program. So with that, Catherine, thank you. It's an honor to work with you every day, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you so much, Ramiro. I remember that Philadelphia as well, and you were kind enough to talk to me when Zoe Saldana was there, and everybody had a queue for her, and you kindly talked to me while everybody else was talking to Zoe. So thank you.
My pleasure.
We're so grateful that you're at the helm of the Hispanic Chamber, and appreciate your unbelievable commitment to the Hispanic business community. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and importantly, a pleasure to work with your team, and that's thanks to your leadership. So we really appreciate it. For those on the Zoom, 10,000 Small Businesses and Goldman Sachs have been a proud partner of the Hispanic Chamber for the past 10 years. We've worked side by side to recruit Hispanic business owners to take 10,000 small businesses and help elevate the voice of Hispanic business owners. And as we've mentioned, the annual conference, and I'm sure many of us love going to every year, it always feels a bit like a 10,000 Small Businesses reunion when I run into Dan Levy from Manhattan Home Design in New York, or Teresa Lawrence from Delta Personnel, and we're all about to meet Arian Gonzales, and I know that I'll run into her too the next time we're all there together. So we look forward to that milestone of all being together at a conference and being hosted by the USHCC. Now more than ever, small businesses are our future, and Hispanic business owners are at the heart of building back our economy as we overcome COVID. And we know that challenging times are ahead, and we want to thank you all for all that you do. We really appreciate it, and that you're taking time out of your day right now to be on this Zoom means a lot to us. I wanted to make you aware of two resources that Goldman Sachs has if you haven't already taken advantage of them. The first is we put $500 million out in loan capital to help support the Paycheck Protection Program. So if you have not already applied for a Paycheck Protection Program, PPP is so much easier to say, loan, you can do so through our partnership with CDC, Small Business Finance. So if you are interested in still applying for a PPP loan, I wanted to make sure that you knew about our partnership with CDC, Small Business Finance. Additionally, if you're interested in more resources to just understand resources available post-COVID and during COVID, depending upon what state you're in, we have a small business resource center on Goldman Sachs website, gs.com, and that's where we're posting all of our resources. So I just wanted to shout out those two opportunities in case either would be helpful to anybody on the phone today or after today. With that, I will turn it over to my colleagues. I want to thank Ramiro again. Thank you, Sonia, and the ICIC team for pulling this together. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague and dear friend, Richard Bliss, to get going.
Great. Thanks, Catherine. So it's great to be with the national partners. And I think what we've all realized over the last few months is just the importance of the program and the strength of the program in difficult times. And so what I want to do is spend a few minutes just talking about the program overall, and then also what we've done over the last 2 or 3 months to really support our business owners in the current climate. And this is just a brief overview of what the 10,000 small business program is. I mean, I think every time we go into a city, we hear about programs, and there's many programs out there. I think this one has three key pieces: the education piece, the access to capital piece, and then the business services and support piece. And I think it's the combination of these three that really have gotten us the results that we've seen over the last 10 years, which, as all of you know, have been very strong and extraordinary, and turn up in revenue growth and job creation. And so that's the overall sort of theory behind the program. Can you go to the next slide, please, Eileen? And what I want to do is sort of talk a little bit about the curriculum and also just how this all sort of fits together. I mean, ICIC gives us phenomenal support and provides us with business owners that are just set up for success and that are most likely to benefit from the program. And then once we get them into the program, I want to spend a couple minutes to just talk about the curriculum that they see. Next slide, please, Eileen. So the curriculum was designed around growth opportunities and identifying growth opportunities. And it's really built on helping them think more broadly, change their mindset, and then give them the tools to sort of execute on this opportunity that they identify. And so you can see the flow of the modules here. And it's really, you know, what I tell people is we at Babson and at many other schools spend a lot of time trying to create entrepreneurs. What 10,000 Small Businesses does is it just takes people that are already entrepreneurs and it gives them a toolkit that any of my sophomore students have or any of my first year MBAs have. And so the curriculum is really built around giving them the tools to assess their opportunity and then put together a plan to pursue it. But I think the really valuable thing that we've learned over the last couple months, and if you go to the next slide, please, Eileen, this is a card that I got, or a quote from a card that I got from a business owner last week. And she said, "It's been exactly a year since I graduated. I thought I was there to learn how to grow our business, and I was. And now I realize I learned skills that would help our business survive in the most unforeseen economic times." Mm-hmm. And I think this really summarizes what, you know, we feel the curriculum can do. It can certainly help businesses grow, but I think it also gives them a support network and a mindset and a toolkit that gets them through even difficult times when growth may be the furthest thing from their mind. And so as part of what we've been doing with our business owners from the beginning is getting information from them, asking them what they need, what the program can do better for them. And we've been doing that from the beginning, but I think certainly in the last few months, it's been even more important to hear from our business owners. And so we've done monthly surveys. Next slide, please, Eileen. That started in March. And if you sort of look at the March survey, things were pretty bleak. You know, almost 100% of the business owners had been negatively impacted. Half thought they could only continue to operate for 3 months or less. Not even half had contingency plans, and the ones that had them were not confident in them to sort of save their business. And when we said, what do you need? They needed access to emergency funding. They wanted training around resiliency, crisis communications, and then webinars to share best practices and support. And over the months since March, we've put all of these things in place through our national partners, through the local site teams. And so all of this has been part of what we've worked with ICIC, with Goldman Sachs, and with our other partners to bring to our alums. And they also said they needed grants and a quick loan program. So this was, remember, March 16th. This was very early on. This was, you know, this was right when Babson said, we got to get our kids out of here and send them home. So there was a huge amount of uncertainty. Next slide, please, Eileen. By April, things were becoming a little bit clearer, and 80% of our alums were still fully or partially open. But it was still pretty dire from the funding standpoint. 2/3 had cash reserves for less than 3 months, and yet only 4% said their businesses would not survive. So I think in spite of the challenges, they were sort of optimistic and starting to figure out how they were going to move forward. At this point in April, and if you recall, the PPP program opened up April 3rd, 91% had applied for loans, but only half had been approved, and of them, less than half had gotten the funds. And for the EID loans, it was even a smaller number that applied and far fewer that had received funds. But what many of them, and more than half, had done, and this is where I think we get back to what we talked about with the curriculum, they had changed their business model or they had adapted their product or service offerings for the current environment. And fully 15% had begun producing personal protective equipment or other coronavirus-related products. And so I think when we talk about the curriculum and, you know, identifying opportunities, this says that well more than half of our alums have done this in the current crisis environment. And I mean, as one of the persons that has sort of helped put the curriculum together and train the sites to deliver it, this was one of the most sort of rewarding things that we heard in the surveys. Last slide, please, Eileen. So we just finished up the May survey last week. We're still sort of compiling the results, but I wanted to pull two that I think show the continued trajectory that we saw in April. 90% of the businesses are now fully or partially open, and 93 had applied for PPP loans with almost 100% approval and almost 100% funding. And so, you know, I think what these surveys have done is gotten us a lot of information about what the business owners have needed and what they continue to need, and helped us craft those resources for them. But I think with the latest May survey, we're starting to see some green shoots about the future and a little bit of optimism, although it's not universal, and all of you are in different areas and know that not all parts of the country are affected equally. And there certainly may be setbacks as we go forward, but I think there's some encouraging news. And so I will finish up there. And so I don't know if we want to take questions now or push them till later.
Maybe you can just pause in case
Sure.
anybody has any burning questions.
Yep.
I see one question, Sonia, in the Q&A from Francisco Cortez. Thank you for hosting this session. I oversee the New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce and would like to know how many veterans have participated in this program, and is that a focus area?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll take that. So we definitely partner with many different organizations, you know, USHCC being one, veteran organizations around the country being another one. For our program, we do not necessarily divide up our alumni into the veteran status categories, but, you know, we as ICIC, the outreach partner, really do work hard to ensure that the program nationally and locally are partnering with these organizations that are providing additional support to veteran-owned businesses.
There's one more question, and I may be able to help answer as well. Are these available to 501c6 chambers? So one of the reasons for today's webinar is to educate all of our chamber members about this great program so that you can advertise it to the small business owners within your network.
Mm-hmm. That's right, Brianna. And to answer the specific question, I'm guessing the question is about whether the chamber can apply to the program without knowing much. Okay. Yes, actually, the chamber president, your executive director, can actually apply to the program. You know, the program is available to nonprofits as well. The only request there is your CEO, president, your ED, whoever is the top person apply to the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Sonia, I'm turning it back to you, I believe. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You know, Richard, as you mentioned, just the feedback that you've received from our alumni, and I love to share this slide and the data points because this is a reflection of who our alumni are and really the diverse group of people that's represented in this program. You know, I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but we have over 97,000 businesses who have gone through the program to date, over 97,000 businesses. And, you know, as you can see, 45% of our participants are women, and the median age of our businesses is 12. And the range of the business age can be between 2, and the oldest I believe we have is 159 years old business. And Arian Gonzales is actually a representative of that group. Arian is both a member of the New Mexico Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and a 10KSB alumna from New Mexico. She is the president and co-founder of Sarventas Food Products. It is a woman-owned New Mexico salsa and culinary sauce specialty food company born out of her family's commitment to preserving heirloom and chili pepper-based 100-year-old family recipes and New
Right.
Mexico's culinary traditions. And I also just want to say I had the personal pleasure of tasting those delicious sauce at last year's conference at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Annual Gathering. Arian, thank you so much for joining us today and being open to sharing how you're doing today, how you were doing pre-COVID-19, and just everything that you've been able to take out of the 10KSB program and how it's servicing you today. Before that, I love to always say context is the key. So would love to hear from you, how was your business pre-10KSB? And, once you graduated from the program, how did your business change after that?
Sure. First, I just wanted to thank everyone for the invitation. Goldman Sachs, USHCC, ICIC. I'm so appreciative and so humbled to be able to share a little bit of my story and how we were before the 10K program and post 10K program. And I have to admit, the previous slide, Sonia, that was presented is so spot on. When I was first approached with this idea of being a participant, I thought, oh no, I couldn't do this. This is totally meant for individuals who've been in business for 1 to 5 years, who in their 20s and 30s. I was feeling a little, as I like to say, a little long in the tooth when I applied because I was in my, mid to late 50s and had been in business for a number of years. I mean, we just celebrated 22 years. But to answer your question, how we were previous to the program and how we are now are very different looks. When I first started this program, we were still enjoying steady growth, but it felt kind of like we had a shotgun approach to business growth. That, when you first start out in business, you chase after a lot of different opportunities. One of the things that the Goldman Sachs program allowed me and made me really took me a little bit out of my comfort zone, in that I had to be laser focused on my growth opportunities and where I wanted to take my business. And that is something that with the help of the cohorts that I was in the program with, and we were of all age ranges from so many different walks of life, from so many different businesses, but yet all shared sort of some common challenges. And in areas where perhaps I had strength, having been around the block for 18 years at that point, almost 19 years, versus somebody who had only been in business 3 to 5 years. There can be a little bit of a gap. And then there were areas where I wasn't or didn't feel like I had the confidence or the strength in certain understanding metrics, understanding the drivers behind the finances and all of that. So it was a great opportunity for me to develop, as Richard Bliss said earlier, to develop my toolbox, to develop my skill sets, and to develop the confidence that if I were to need to go to the bank, which I did, to borrow a fairly significant amount of money, I could sit across a traditional banker and say, this is my story and this is how I'm going to lay it out, and hit me with your questions because I can answer. I will bet I'll be able to answer most of them.
That's amazing. You mentioned obviously you were experiencing growth and enjoying it, and things just have changed now a bit. I mean, but your company is an essential business.
It is.
I would love to hear, and if you could share, what were some of the lessons that you took away from the program that has been really serving you now to weather what's happening in the current environment?
I think one of the biggest lessons is the ability to be adaptable and the ability to have to sort of pivot if you will, from the tried and true, what's being successful, making the same products, doing the same thing every single day, to being able to maybe change your business model slightly, to adapt to other things. Customers, my customers, including big entities like Costco and major grocery stores, distributors, have taken on, because we are an essential business filling the food supply chain, we have had to really understand what it takes to scale in a very short amount of time. Having said that, working with buyers on the retail side is very different than working with consumers with our internet site. So our internet orders have doubled since we started this. So not only are we seeing a lot of local individuals purchasing our products at a Costco, at the various larger retailers, but we're also seeing now people have a need for comfort products and comfort things that they grew up with, flavors they grew up with, and now being able to say, okay, how do we support that growth? How do we take maybe what was a very small portion of our business to now a significant portion of our business, get it to our customers timely, get it to our customers where the jars don't break in the process, all of those things. And time again, I'm getting emails from customers that say, you have, during these very difficult times, you have filled a real strong need for a comfort item, for something that I grew up with, something my mother taught me how to prepare or cook with, something my family is accustomed to being around. And we're seeing orders from opposite sides of the United States. I'm not just seeing regional orders.
Right.
I'm seeing major growth on both coasts. So that tells me people are a long way from home, but yet we're able to fill that desire and that need to get maybe a little closer to home, if not physically, emotionally, for sure.
Yeah, Arian, I did not really think, I mean, I think you just put it so nicely, that comfort food, right? Like through, especially when things are happening, that's just wonderful. And it seems that you were able to pivot really quickly to be able to meet the demands of your new customers.
Right, and you have to, and that's one of the things that the program, 10K program, did teach me is don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of what's coming to, at you. And I got to tell you, it's almost like drinking out of a water hose. When March 15th, 17th hit, it was, we have two family businesses, albeit they're separate entities, business entities, but they're very connected, one and the same. One is our family-owned restaurant that's owned by my mother-in-law and has been in business for over 40 years. Then our business of manufacturing specialty foods, well, they've completely had to shut down. And so, you have that sort of desire to help get them through this hump, while at the same time working so crazy trying to fill the commitments of your own business. But it's the ability to multitask. It's the ability to understand how not to fear the unknown, how to understand and have the strength of business and the strength of character and leadership that you will weather this storm, that as a business owner, you are going to provide what's required for your employees, for your customers, for your family to weather this storm.
That's funny you just mentioned that, because I did have a question of something similar. When we talk to our alumni, they will share that the program not only changed their business, but it really helped them to change their mindset, right? It transformed their mindset, helped them to go from a business owner to a leader. And you're mentioning that you have to be a leader to your employees, and not just to your business, but also to your family, especially if your family is involved. It's a family business. Right.
Well, these are very scary times for everyone, not just for those of us who are business owners and leaders, but also you have to be able to provide the comfort level for your employees. They show up every day as an essential business. I have to be there for them, and they show up every day with, just full set of armor. It's like, let's do this. We're going to do this because we have the confidence that we know that you're you know what you're doing, I guess, to lead us through this. And for them, I mean, and I straight up have said, if anybody has any concerns, tell me. I'm afraid too. I mean, I'm not made out of, hardware. I'm also nervous about this whole COVID-19 thing. What can I do to help you not feel as nervous about what we're doing every single day?
Right. I mean, Arian, you gave some really good advice to the businesses already, but, do you have any specific advice to businesses that are maybe essential businesses or, looking to reopen soon, and how to keep going?
Well, one of the things that I keep coming back to is being able to be adaptable and being able to also understand that things are not going to be the same. Your suppliers may not be the same. Your vendors are not going to be the same. Your customers may not be the same. So to be able to meet the needs of those individuals and also understand that to have a plan B, if you will. So if my A supplier, wasn't able to provide me with a base ingredient or a basic packaging material, I couldn't just let my business fall apart. I had to be able to think outside the box, if you will. Who am I going to go to for my plan B? Who is my second supplier? Have they met all of our vendor approval program requirements? Get on the phone, start talking to them, giving people, communication is huge right now, not only with your suppliers, your vendors, but also your customers, your buyers, your day-to-day interaction that you're having. So strong communication, strong negotiating skills, because even though we're in a difficult situation, you still have to be able to negotiate what's best for your business and what's going to work for them as well. I mean, it's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street when you have to try to meet in the middle.
Right, right. And obviously, especially, I mean, as always, but especially in this time, relying on other businesses and in your network it has been a key. And one of my favorite data from 10KSB program is that over 85% of our alumni, they tend to do businesses together.
Right.
Do you have any success stories to share from there?
Well, I actually, one of the things that it is interesting that the network that you create with the cohorts that you go through the program with, we're not afraid to reach out to one another if we happen to be visiting in that particular individual's community. But one of the things that I have seen through the various email blasts and or on the app is that many of the businesses are saying, hey, I need some help with X. Does anybody have any type of experience with this challenge? And if so, what have you taken care of it, or how have you overcome the issue? And that, I think, in itself, given the vast number of individuals who've gone through the program, and obviously we don't know one another, person to person, but I still think there's that connectivity, that network, that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, my name's Arian Gonzales. I'm in New Mexico, but I need to find a supplier for this particular ingredient, which I know comes out of your part of the world, of the country. Are you able to help me with that? That's simple. That's just, it's almost like being neighborly, but when we're all so spread out.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think, it's great, and it's not just the 50 states. We have alumni from Puerto Rico, from Guam, from the various US territories. So it just really spans the continent.
Right, and it's not even just during this COVID-19, which obviously is a very difficult time for our world, but I can remember in recent years where in Puerto Rico they had these massive weather situations, and you as an individual, I reached out to say, hey, how can I help you? Is there anything that we can do that I can do that might be of help to you? Because businesses can be decimated with whatever natural disaster. And as long as you feel like you have some individuals that can stand by you and weather the storm, figuratively,
I hear you.
It is very helpful. It's very helpful to have that.
Yeah. Arian, just one last question for you, and then, we'd love to kind of take Q&As from
Sure.
the participants. Do you have any insights specifically for businesses who are part of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce network?
Well, one of the things that I really feel strongly about, not only obviously with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, but also just stay connected. Don't try to continue to run your business in a vacuum, whether it be with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber, whether it be with your local chapter or your local chamber. It's very important, I think, to stay connected. I saw a little, and thank you, Ernie Sidebakta. I saw that you put in a little awesome chili note on the chat box. I really appreciate that. He's a great supporter of our business. But being able to reach out, and these individuals are including the Goldman Sachs 10K program, keeping business owners abreast of because things are moving so rapidly for all of us right now. Having those resources that say, this is what's going on. This is what's happening in DC. This is what's happening locally. This is what we need for, perhaps to think about as a business owner. And that way we're not just so focused on the day-to-day, we can kind of look outside that scope and say, oh yes, I do need to think about that, because this will affect me either 1 month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. So yeah.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. That's really helpful. And I think that takes us to our next slide. And in this presentation is that, as you mentioned, really take advantage of your macro surrounding. And we have alumni from all different states, cities, and as I mentioned, Puerto Rico, Washington, DC, Guam, U.S. territories, U.S. Virgin Islands, which falls under the territories. But so I always say, if you know any family members in South Dakota, in North Dakota, in Wyoming, don't hesitate just because you don't see the blue pin on this map, right? It is truly available to all small businesses across the country, and it is at no cost to any of the business owners, because the Goldman Sachs Foundation pays for the program as a full scholarship.
That's incredible. I just wanted to add, that is incredible. And when I think back of the number of weeks that we all participated in this program, and I mean, I can't even fathom the energy and putting a program of that magnitude together. It was just, I mean, I've been through a lot of different entrepreneurial programs, training programs, but the fact that it wasn't specifically for startups. It was for companies just like mine that said, I need to get to the next level and I need some help, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah, thanks. I know, we talked a lot about different program data. I wanted to share this as well, because we are definitely proud of the program, but we're really proud of our alumni who report 67% of our alumni report increasing revenue within 6 months of graduation. And what that translates to is adding new jobs. The percentage is higher at 18 months. About over 70% of our participants reported increasing their revenue, and over 50% reported adding new jobs to their company. It goes hand in hand. You're increasing revenue, you need more employees.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because we're all here, and I wanted to share and just give an overview of what is our selection criteria for the program. As Arian, you mentioned, in that this program isn't for a startup, it is for an established business. Right. That we feel that there are many resources available to entrepreneurs who are starting their business. But what happens when you start growing, and you are wondering what's next for you? And this program is that perfect resource to take advantage of. The program, we look for the owner or co-owner of the business to apply to the program. And, going back to that startup phase, we do like for businesses to be in businesses for 2 years to be able to show to us that you have been able to prove your business model. Our annual revenue criteria is $150,000, but we look for that in that the company has been able to earn that in the prior year, so 2019. But I do want to mention here that, just with the COVID-19 crisis, we are reviewing each application and taking it on a case by case. So, the more information you can share with us about where your business was pre and post where you're currently, please share that with us, because, me and my team, we are looking at it individually and are doing a lot of follow-up calls to better understand your situation or the business's situation. Great. So I wanted to open it up to everybody who took the time out to attend our discussion today. Brianna, I don't know if I'll stop sharing my screen. And if there are any questions that you received.
We have our first question in the chat. A reminder that you can also use the raise your hand feature if you'd like to ask your question live on video, and we'll pull you up on the screen with us. Sonia, how do business owners apply for the program?
Great, and I just realized that I did not show the last slide, which had all that information. So your question is very appropriate. So you can go to our website, 10ksbapply.com. And it's just like applying to any kind of program that you'll create your username and profile, but you'll see that from a drop-down menu, we could select a site or a location. So, feel free to choose the nearest site that's to you. Now, if you can't find one that's near to you where you live or where your business is located, please choose the option that says Babson College, the National Cohort Program, and that will make sure to cover you.
Sonia, I'm sorry, may I add just one thing?
Absolutely.
If a chamber would do if they did do a blast about this particular program, one of the things that I really want to share is that the first time I saw the invitation, I thought, this is too good to be true. There's no way. There is no way somebody's going to pay for 13 weeks for me to learn how to be a better business owner, how to meet the challenges, and to bring my business to another level. It's too good to be true. We always worry about that. Is this some kind of, strange thing that's absolutely. In fact, the first invitation that I received, I completely ignored. I didn't even want to open the link because I was afraid it might be something totally weird. So then, but the second time I got it, I thought, I'm just going to try it out. And one of the things is, as alum, we are asked to maybe perhaps recommend or suggest certain companies be a part of this program or receive an invite. So I never received anything saying, oh, by the way, I've recommended you for such and such a program, which might be a little helpful if alum could just shoot a little quick email to say, hey, this is a for real thing and it's awesome. You need to do it. So just wanted to add that.
No, Arian, we've heard that many times that, this is my fourth time, that I've received email from you, calls from you guys, and I just figured I'll just apply just so you can stop calling me, right? And then it just changes, it just transforms their lives and their business. So I'm happy, we're happy to continually call you and email you reminders.
We have a few more questions coming in. One was, is this session being recorded? It is being recorded. This will be on our USHCC YouTube channel after this, where you can share it with anyone in your networks who may have missed the call. Also, where can we access a toolkit where we can share this, or will information be sent after this call?
Yes, we will follow up with you via email, and we will make sure to coordinate with Brianna. I also want to say thank you to Brianna for really helping to put this together. Ramiro, I know we mentioned it before we started, but you do have a wonderful team, and it's been a pleasure working with them.
Oh,
Thank
likewise.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We appreciate y'all taking the time to do this. Here's another question in the Q&A from Fort Worth, Miss Annette Landeros. Are there dates set for each location? I find the most challenging thing for my business owners is scheduling, so those dates would be super helpful.
Yes, thank you. That's a really good question. Yeah, so the dates for our classes that start in the fall time, which is starting in September, is set. So especially that would be for our Dallas site, and you can go either to the 10ksbapply.com site to look at those dates, or you can go to the Dallas 10KSB site to look at the dates for the fall cohort.
Is there a deadline to apply?
We accept application on a rolling basis.
Any other questions, participants?
I just wanted to add one more thing for business owners. It seems at times, because the program is so comprehensive, and it does sometimes feel like there's a lot of material coming your way, and that you can't possibly break away to do what you need to do to meet the guidelines and the arrangements. But it does definitely you should make the sacrifice, because I know there were times where I'd come home from work, it'd be late, I'm just trying to plow through all the reading and do all the exercises and thinking, I don't know if I can keep this up. But yes, you can. And on those days where you have your scheduled one-on-ones, very important. And even getting away from your office, it's nerve-wracking to try to get away for that. And during the flight, as soon as you land and you're participating, wherever it is, I went to Babson. There is no way. I mean, I'm in Boston. It's like, what am I going to do? And you just have to learn how to manage through it and have the confidence that the team that you leave behind can manage for you. And I have to tell you, I got a phone call when I was in one of the sessions in Babson that my team member said, I need to talk to you ASAP. And I thought, oh my goodness, because I had given instruction, unless the building's burning down, don't call me, don't text me, don't do anything. I just need to be in my own space. And it was the FDA just walked in the door. And with the FDA walking in the door unannounced, it's not a bad thing. It's just, can you help me find one piece of paper, one record? And I was like, oh yeah, these guys have got it. They were so apologetic, but they had it. And it's just that, having the confidence that your team, that people you leave behind, can fill in for you. And that's the whole important thing. You're working on your business, not in your business for that time period.
One more question. Where do the cohorts take place, and are there any virtual sessions due to COVID?
So we have local sites. So we have 19 local sites across the country. And the one that Arian just mentioned, the one at Babson College, is the one that is actually offered in a blended learning model. So half of the curriculum that Richard had shared is online, and then the other half is face-to-face. Now, of course, with COVID, we are taking everything into consideration, but we are working with our local community college to make that decision, because it does differ market to market. And right now, the goal is to put everybody's health and safety as a priority.
I think you mentioned a little bit about this already, but if you could walk through, are nonprofits eligible? What are the requirements, and what are the requirements for chambers to apply as well?
Yeah, so it's the same requirements. The program requirement does not change if a nonprofit is applying to the program. But the one thing that we do follow up with a nonprofit is that we like to see that you are not 100% grant focused, grant funded. We'd like to see that there is some type of fee for service, or maybe that's the area that you want to explore through a program like the 10,000 Small Business Program that will help you identify your growth opportunity. I don't know, Richard, if you want to share from your experience in teaching both for-profits and nonprofits through this curriculum and the takeaways.
Yeah, I think that, and Catherine will remember the story of, we early on ran an entire cohort of nonprofits, and by all measures it went well, but I think what we realized is that there's a nonprofit mindset that can benefit for-profit businesses and vice versa. And so after we did that initial all nonprofit cohort that was in Chicago, we said, okay, let's bring nonprofits into the cohort. And they're usually a fairly small percentage of the overall businesses, but I've seen many times, as anyone in the classroom would, the benefit that goes back and forth in terms of helping each other. What we've also seen is that businesses more and more over the years have become more cognizant of their social mission and the importance of sort of responding to customer and employee desires with respect to social responsibility. And they learn a ton about that from the nonprofits. And I think the nonprofits get a lot of good ideas about how they can generate revenue, but still stay in line with their mission and their overall goals as a nonprofit. So it's really been a very synergistic relationship and worked out well.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to mention that, the 10,000 Small Business Program is a great resource in addition to all the resources available at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and at your local commerce. So, it's not that you should take advantage of either or. As Arian said, I think early on, you should really take advantage of everything that you can with the time that you have to work on your business, to sustain your business.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've answered all the questions. Great job, panel.
Thanks, Brianna. Great. So if there are no other questions, I want to thank you all again for joining us. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Ramiro. Richard, Arian, thank you. Of course, Richard Garcia and Brianna, thank you for helping to put this together. And from my team, Eileen as well. It has been a pleasure, and it just gives us excitement to be able to share the success story of Arian with you all, and hopefully there will be many more because we continue to be a great partner with you, Ramiro, and your team.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. This has been an honor, and I want to thank everyone that joined us, all the chambers and all of our Hispanic business enterprises. It was a great presentation. Thank you to the panel members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.